I have to tell you, this Smithwick's Irish Ale is dynamite, isn't it? I mean, it's got real flavor in it. It's not something that, is bold and maybe negative in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of middle of the road, which is a term we've used a lot tonight. Middle of the road in terms of high flavor, but it's not overly done, and as Dallas mentioned, it's not underdone either. It's just really right there where it belongs. It's exactly what it is. And this is one of the reasons I think it's been around for so many years, is because it has that good overall flavor. Now with that, the Smithwick's Irish Ale, they've got a beautiful beef stew. Now beef stew and potatoes. Remember I mentioned earlier about potatoes in Irish cuisine? Well, there's a lot of potatoes in this stew, and that's just typical. That's the way it really normally would be, no matter where you are. The beef, the carrots, the parsley, the little sauce that they make that goes with this to hold the stew together, so to speak, is something easy to do. You guys know how to do that, or should I mention it? I mean, you make a little gravy, I guess that's a good way to call it. There's a lot of different ways of making gravy. And if you take stew, you start out with a piece of beef before you've cut it up, you usually brown the heck out of it in a skillet, right? And when you brown it, all those little bits stick to the bottom of the skillet. That's so much flavor, and that's what you want to use in your gravy. So you take the meat out and leave those bits in there, and you would add maybe, I don't know, depends on what we're doing here, but let's just say a little red wine, okay? You could add a little bit of red wine, you could add water, you could add chicken stock, you could add beef stock, depends on how you feel about what you want to make, the taste and flavor that you want. And then you can take a little bit of flour. Now, here's the trick. Some people say, I put flour and I stir it around and I've got lumps in my gravy. Well, I'll tell you how to solve that. The next time you empty a preserves jar or jelly jar, keep it. And then when you get ready to make this gravy, take about a tablespoon of flour, not more than that, into that empty jelly jar and fill it about 2/3 of the way up with water. Screw the lid on and just shake the heck out of it. Then take the lid off and pour it into your wine and those little bits and stir it. You won't ever have a lump. That is the easy, non-chef way of making the gravy that really tastes good. Always when you put flour into anything, whether it's a gravy or not, make sure you cook it for at least 5 minutes after you've added the flour, because if you don't, it's going to taste like first grade paste. If you can remember the first grade paste, yeah, that's what it'll taste like. Uncooked or raw flour has that taste, and there's no way to get around it. You just have to cook that taste out, and it takes about 5 minutes or longer to do that. It won't take longer to make it happen, but you can cook it longer than 5 minutes. But I'm just saying that's the way to make it. And if you want it a little bit thicker, don't run over there and add a lot more flour to it, because you'll find out you've added too much. Now you've got to worry about getting enough liquid to keep that starchy stuff down. So just use a tablespoon, make it work. If you need a little bit more, put maybe a teaspoon in the jar, a little bit of water, shake it up and pour it in. But it's not going to get as thick as it will until it goes to boil. So if you don't boil it, it's not going to happen. It'll just continue on. And then when you're not looking, it'll get thick and you'll say, what the heck happened? Well, that's what you have to worry about, is bringing it to a boil and then decide if you need more or less. We got to go, we got to go, period, don't we? Jesus, time flies when you're having a good time. Well, I have to tell you, Guinness Stout is a delicious product. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to talk too much about it tonight. But I want to thank you for listening to Wines du Jour. If you've enjoyed tonight's program, tell all your friends to listen next time when we have true experts on wine or winemaking to enjoy. If you want to know more about my favorite subjects, just log on to my website, leskincade.com. I want to thank Brian McMullen and also Dallas for being with us tonight here at McMullen's Irish Pub and their hospitality. My broadcast engineer tonight has done a beautiful job. V-Asian TV for making television happen here on Wines du Jour. Thanks for choosing and listening to Wines du Jour from the left coast, from the east coast, and all around the world on the internet. From Las Vegas, Nevada, I'm Les Kincaid. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening to Wines du Jour. We've been here at the McMillan's Irish Pub. Even though Brian McMillan wasn't here tonight, his manager made sure that the food and, of course, the beers are great. You know, a lot of people don't realize that beer is also a good beverage to have. Wine is not the only thing in the world. So, if you have some good food, you can pair it with good wine and, of course, good beer. Hope to see you next time here on Wines du Jour.